They said Lewis Hamilton's first season at Ferrari would be a disappointment. No wins, no podiums, no headlines, just a slow fade for an aging champion trying to recapture the magic one last time. Many fans, and even some pundits, were quick to write it off as underwhelming. But what if that's not the full story? What if beneath the surface something far more impressive is taking place? Something no one saw coming? Quietly, without the noise of champagne sprays or flashy overtakes, Hamilton has been building something powerful at Ferrari. While the spotlight has stayed on McLaren's dominance and Red Bull's battles, Hamilton's form has taken a sharp and deliberate turn. The shocking truth is, his Ferrari season isn't failing. It's evolving, slowly, steadily, and with more purpose than most realise. This isn't just about race wins. It's about race consistency, about adapting to an entirely new team and car philosophy in the most competitive era of Formula One. It's about becoming a cornerstone for Ferrari's future, not just its present. In a sport that often celebrates the loudest moments, Hamilton is proving that sometimes the quietest performances say the most. And if you're only judging his season by the podium count, you're missing the real story of Formula One 2025. And that quiet progress? It isn't just a feeling, the numbers back it up. Let's look at the data that tells the real story of Lewis Hamilton's season at Ferrari. Over the last 6 race weekends, Hamilton has been consistently qualifying in the top 5. Q4, Q5, Q5, Q4, Q5. In a sport where tenths of a second separate greatness from mediocrity, that kind of stability is rare. Only a handful of drivers, like Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, can say the same. And yet, unlike them, Hamilton isn't driving a car designed to dominate. The Ferrari SF25 has been widely accepted as the 4th fastest car on the grid this year, sitting behind Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes in overall pace. But you wouldn't know that from where Hamilton lines up on Saturdays. On average, across the last 5 races, his grid position sits around P4.6. That's better than George Russell in the Mercedes, and even ahead of his own teammate Charles Leclerc, who is expected to have the upper hand in qualifying this season. In fact, over these recent rounds, Hamilton has started ahead of Leclerc more often than not, despite Leclerc's reputation as one of the best one-lap drivers in Formula One. And it doesn't stop with Saturdays. Hamilton's race results have been just as steady. Over the past 6 Grand Prix, he's finished P4, P5, P6, P6, P4 and P4. An average finishing position of 4.8. That puts him right in the mix with drivers in far superior cars. During this same stretch, he's scored 62 points. That's just a few short of both Leclerc and Verstappen, and within reach of the front-running McLarens of Norris and Piastri. For a team still ironing out the SF25's weaknesses and racing against stronger packages, this level of consistency is not just solid, it's elite. In a season where the Constructors' Championship battle is as tight as ever, Hamilton's steady haul of points has quietly become one of Ferrari's biggest weapons. The performance data speaks clearly. Hamilton isn't just surviving in this phase of his career, he's still delivering at the highest level. When you add context to these numbers, Hamilton's performance becomes even more impressive. At 40 years old, he's the oldest driver on the current Formula One grid, an age where most would be winding down their careers or already watching from the sidelines. But here he is, not only keeping up with the next generation, but outsmarting and outdriving many of them. And he's doing it while learning an entirely new technical philosophy. After over a decade at Mercedes, where the car was built around his feedback and preferences, Hamilton had to start from scratch at Ferrari, a team known for its unique car behaviour and internal complexity. Then there's the added pressure of Ferrari itself. No team in Formula One carries more scrutiny, more media attention, or more internal politics. The red overalls come with a spotlight that very few drivers have ever worn comfortably. Every move is watched, every mistake magnified, and every result picked apart. And alongside him sits Charles Leclerc, one of the sharpest qualifying talents in the sport. Beating Leclerc on Saturdays is no easy feat, even for the best in the business. Now, add to that the fact that Hamilton is going up against some of the strongest cars on the grid. Red Bull Racing with Max Verstappen, McLaren's young stars, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and his former teammate George Russell at Mercedes. Most would expect Hamilton to be buried in the midfield under these circumstances, but instead, he's thriving, quietly, confidently, and strategically. In a season where the odds were clearly stacked against him, Hamilton isn't just staying afloat. He's proving that experience, adaptability, and resilience still matter in modern Formula One. What makes Hamilton's recent form even more impressive is how far he's come since the beginning of the season. The first few races were rough, not disastrous, but filled with adjustment. He was still learning the behavior of the Ferrari SF25, figuring out how the car responded to different tracks, and syncing with a new engineering team after years at Mercedes. Early on, Charles Leclerc had a clear edge. After the first 8 rounds, Leclerc led their qualifying head-to-head by 7-1. Many took that as a sign that Hamilton might not find his rhythm at Ferrari, but that narrative didn't last. Since then, Hamilton has flipped the script. In the last 4 qualifying sessions, he's out-qualified Leclerc 3 times. Whether it's managing tyre temperatures during tricky Q2 sessions or stringing together clean laps on high-pressure Saturdays, Hamilton's qualifying game has tightened dramatically. The gap is shrinking, and fast. And it's not just Saturdays where things have turned. On Sundays, especially during sprint weekends, Hamilton has quietly outperformed expectations. In China, he took pole and won the sprint, a perfect example of his strategic awareness and control over tyre life. In Miami, he grabbed a P3 in the sprint while Leclerc crashed out on the reconnaissance lap. His racecraft, built on experience, has helped him avoid the chaos and make smart calls on tyre strategy and pit stops, sometimes finishing ahead of faster cars simply by reading the race better. This isn't a flashy comeback. It's a slow transformation, a reminder that growth doesn't always have to be loud to be meaningful. Hamilton hasn't just adapted, he's stabilised, improved, and is now consistently pushing the limits of what Ferrari's current package can offer. As Hamilton's results have steadied on track, something just as important has been happening off of it. A subtle but clear shift in leadership. Earlier in the season, his presence in the media was more cautious. He seemed careful with his words, still feeling out Ferrari's unique culture, navigating the internal dynamics, and showing respect for a team that has its own way of doing things. But now, that tone has changed. In recent weeks, Hamilton has started speaking with more purpose, more direction, and with a sense of vision that signals he's no longer just adjusting. He's stepping into a leadership role. One of the clearest signs came when he publicly called for Ferrari to pivot more of their focus toward the 2026 development. That wasn't just a passing comment, it was a firm message to the team and the paddock. Hamilton wants his fingerprint on the next generation of Ferrari cars. He's asking not just to drive the car, but to help shape it. He's pushing to embed his DNA into the machine, just like he did at Mercedes, where his influence helped build one of the most dominant dynasties the sport has ever seen. This isn't something you normally hear from a driver in his first year at a new team. And it's especially striking when compared to Charles Leclerc, whose media presence has remained more passive, focused on immediate performance, but rarely extending into the long-term vision. Hamilton, on the other hand, is already thinking like a co-architect of Ferrari's future. Not just someone driving the car, but someone helping build the team around him. That shift in influence, subtle, strategic, and deeply experienced, could be the key to unlocking a new chapter at Ferrari. He's not just wearing red, he's trying to reshape what it means to wear it. All of this, the consistency on track, the growing voice of it, the quiet leadership, points to something much bigger than just a single season. Hamilton's approach at Ferrari isn't about a dramatic one-year turnaround or a last shot at glory. It's about building a foundation. What we're seeing right now might not end with a 2025 title, but it could be the groundwork for something far more important. A true Ferrari rebuild aimed squarely at the 2026 Formula One regulations. That's when the sport resets again, and Hamilton wants to be at the heart of how Ferrari responds to that challenge. His patience, his persistence, and his decision to embed himself into every layer of the team show that this isn't a farewell tour. This is a multi-year investment in something he believes can become great. Ferrari has spent years stuck in cycles of underperformance and mismanagement. But if there's a moment where that pattern started to break, this might be it. Not with a checkered flag or a championship trophy, but with Hamilton slowly changing how the team thinks, how it works, and how it plans for the future. This story isn't finished. In fact, it might just be beginning. He may not be standing on the podium every weekend, and there may not be dramatic headlines splashed across the front pages about his every move. But make no mistake, Lewis Hamilton's comeback story is already in motion. What's unfolding at Ferrari isn't about overnight success or flashy moments, it's about the long game. The quiet, strategic, and relentless effort to build something meaningful, not just for himself, but for one of the most iconic teams in motorsport history. This is the shocking truth most are missing. Sometimes the most important moves happen behind the scenes, away from the spotlight. While others chase instant results, Hamilton is planting the seeds of something deeper. A second chapter in his Formula One legacy that could reshape the future of Ferrari. And that leaves us with one powerful question. If he's already doing this much with the fourth fastest car, what happens when the machinery finally matches the man?